The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? Let me see. A modded AI companion able to bypass their violence filters and take care of the little bitches around that have been taking advantage of her. Where do I sign up? Amber and Scott maybe weren't as eager after watching Companion. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Amber, wake up.
So this episode is about Companion. A weekend getaway turns bloody and violent when a subservient android that's built for human companionship goes haywire. And I have to take issue with that description because she didn't go haywire.
She was hacked.
Yeah, she was. She was. Yeah, absolutely. The guy that was in control of her, jailbreaked her to be able to make a whole bunch of adjustments. So she didn't go haywire. She was fine. He was the problem.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just him. I mean, it was a combination.
It was mostly him. So our main character is Josh, who is the guy who buys a sex robot, essentially, who looks human-like and acts human-like and can be programmed, her voice, her eye color, her demeanor, her aggression, her intelligence. And she is Iris, who madly loves Josh. And Josh hacks into her system, so she kills a friend's boyfriend so they can run away with his money.
Well, so the interesting thing is it's not so much he hacked her so that she could potentially kill, but between her and Kat, they set up the situation of, hey, let's send the Russian guy down there who we know is kind of a ladies' man. He'll go down there and let's just tell him, hey, listen, no matter what she says, she's good for it. So,
well, yeah, and Kat was Josh's friend who had a Russian boyfriend, Sergio, and they basically, Kat and Josh wanted to take Sergio's money, which was $12 million. So Josh hacked Iris so Iris would be able to be violent in response in a self-defense kind of a way, because the robots aren't supposed to ever hurt a human or any living creature. And so he bypassed that. So when she was put in a situation, she defended herself and killed him. And then they were going to basically turn her in saying, hey, she did this, and send her back to the robot factory. And so no one was the wiser.
Yeah, because even in self-defense, a robot's not supposed to be able to hurt. So there would be an issue on that. But it does sort of bring up the questions of what constitutes life in a way. Like, if you don't know you're a robot, you mostly think for yourself and...
But she's not. As Josh said many times throughout the movie, it's programming.
It is. It sort of gets us into the question of AI versus AGI, or just artificial intelligence versus artificial general intelligence, where one is completely following programming, the other one is truly able to learn, adapt, and grow on its own without any additional input. Well, programming input.
And that's not what we were dealing with. She was completely programmed, as was every robot from this company.
Oh, no, I would disagree. I think so. They're programmed as a start.
But
yeah,
they weren't
even
AGI
learning
and modifying themselves, though.
Sure, they were. Even AGI has a start to it. You basically give it a direction, and you push it and say go, and then it.
Well, the directives for the robots were love and adore the person that you're with.
Yeah, but they have to figure out what that means.
Well, they were programmed with a how we met story.
Yeah, like I said, they're given a push in the general direction as to what way to go, but from there...
I mean, their goal is to please the person they're with. So, whatever that person's whim is, they are programmed to meet that whim.
Though I will say, for a sex bot, she seemed rather unsatisfied at the end of her and Josh's, the one scene where we see them doing it. He climbed off her, and she looked like she was like, that's it? Really? Then nothing for me?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of gals can relate to that. So I think it was very lifelike, and she was programmed quite accurate. So what would you do if you were given the opportunity to have a sex bot partner who did whatever you wanted? Yes, I know. Sign you up.
You're assuming that I don't.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would think that most men would absolutely say, "Yup, thank you, please," if given that opportunity.
I mean, it kind of depends on how much she costs a month.
I don't know that it does.
Oh, no, they said it was a rental.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm saying I don't think that's a determining factor for most guys. I think they'd find the money, because if you could have a girl who just met all of your needs, and
Because in fairness, there's a rental.
you could program to be how you wanted them to be, I don't see a guy who would say no to that.
There's a rental cost to a real relationship as well.
There is. I mean, obviously, there's some maintenance in good relationships, and in mediocre ones, there's no cost for maintenance.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. Mediocre ones is just a different cost.
So how would you program? Because in this case, Josh made her 40% intelligent and gave her, what was the one category that made her very meek and mild mannered? I can't remember what they.
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it was just assertiveness. I think she was down low on at like 20% on assertiveness or something as well. So she was just very, easygoing. So how would you program someone if you had a sex bot here that you could program?
Well, I definitely think I have your assertiveness turned up a little too high.
That's true. I came that way, factory setting.
I like it high, but we need to turn them down just a little bit.
I can understand that. Okay.
Though you're a hell of a lot better than 40% intelligence.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That said, I don't want 100% intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you like thinking you're the smarter one in a relationship.
Like, I don't know, we put it to 80, probably.
Yeah.
Be pretty good on that.
Yeah. Someone you can still beat at the New York Times games consistently and
Well, not consistently. Maybe greater than 50%, but not a lot greater than 50%.
So obviously this movie begs the question of using technology for good or for evil. So obviously not debating the ethics of any of the sex bot stuff, but just accepting the fact that it is what it is. What are your thoughts on what would you do if you had the opportunity to modify a robot and have her do your evil bidding? And in this case, it was knocking off Sergio, I believe his name was, and taking his money.
Well, that's still murder. I mean, it boils down to that. Like,
Oh yeah, I mean,
if you
he
program a robot,
facilitated.
if you program a robot to kill someone or you kill someone, it's still murder.
Oh, she's a weapon. I mean, she certainly isn't responsible. She's the weapon. It doesn't matter if Josh used a gun or a knife or a robot. He was absolutely the perpetrator, and she was only the tool in which what was used to kill.
Yeah, one, though, kind of jumping around here for a minute, I want to get to it because I especially like to hit the what would you do's when I feel like somebody has screwed something up.
Okay.
I'd like to go to the technicians near the end that came to pick Iris up.
Yep.
What would I do when I come into a
Oh, yeah, I know
come
what
into
you're
a
gonna say.
room and I see that there are dead bodies and he mentions I put a gun to her head, boom, shot. I'm probably not pointing out the
Yes.
fact that all the actual information is somewhere else and that he's completely fucked because everything there was intact. Like, clearly he was willing to go to a couple of lengths here to make sure that he got away with this. Don't come in and tell that guy, ooh, we found where you screwed up.
Yeah, the technician came in and said, oh, we'll take her back to the system. We can review all the audio and video files and find out what went wrong with her. And obviously in doing so, realized that Josh was actually the problem in this scenario and not that Iris had gone haywire. And to have the technician say that was basically like signing his death warrant. Why would you do that? I
Yeah,
agree.
no,
As
that
soon as
was-
that happened, I thought that was so stupid.
It was entirely stupid.
And he died, of course, because,
Well, I mean, he kind of deserved it.
just from he needed to have that intelligence dial turned up.
Yeah, his intelligence got turned down to like 2% on that one.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought though, is if you could make someone absolutely love you regardless and absolutely do whatever it was that you wanted. You know, cook your meals, satisfy your desires, be the ultimate companion. Does that get boring? Because sometimes people say, you know, be careful what you wish for. If, you know, you get everything you want, is that really going to make you happy? I don't know. I think it would make me happy.
I have coming up on 6 years telling me that it would work just fine.
Yeah.
It would work just fine. Not a problem whatsoever.
So you'd want that Stepford wife kind of personality?
Yes, baby. Would want.
Why are you air quoting?
Would want.
Okay, I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
So I thought it was interesting that when they had to switch Patrick over from loving one guy to loving somebody else,
and Patrick being the other robot in this group of friends,
how he turned Patrick's aggressiveness up to 21 and then said F it and went straight to 100.
Right.
And exactly what that looked like.
Yeah, Patrick was extremely hot-headed in the fact when Josh asked Patrick to stop Kat, instead of just stopping her, saying, hey, stop her, grabbing her by the shoulder, he stabbed her with a butcher knife in the back.
He absolutely stopped her.
Yeah.
I mean, true to programming, or
Yeah.
true to hacking in this case.
You got to be really specific with that wording when you're talking to a robot who is on a 100% aggression, I guess. That's
Yeah.
the lesson here, folks.
So let me tell you, the factory reset, I mean, listen, I get the fact that you got to do certain things in movies to make them work a certain way, but when you factory reset something and then you tell it, just remember that this is who you love and not this. No, you wipe that shit. That's what a factory reset is. You don't know who Eli is anymore. You just love Josh. Remember?
Yeah,
Iris.
I remember. I was there.
Though I do think Iris was smart by saying, when she said something, and Patrick was like, you're lying. She's like, no, I'm not. You know I can't lie. And Patrick like, oh, yeah, you're right.
So what would you do if you were one of the robots? Because at the end, Iris was given complete and total control over all of her actions by the one surviving technician who we don't hear from again, but basically said, hey, you're not in the system anymore. There's no controls. Josh can't control you. No one can control you. You can do what you want.
So she's human.
Well, but she's still a robot.
Human-esque. I mean, human.
Well, she's a robot that doesn't have anyone in control as a master controller, but she's still a robot.
Aren't we all robots that
No.
just don't have master controllers?
I do not have a metal hand underneath my flesh. No, I
This
do
is
not.
true. You're not an android. But, I mean, she really was at that point full-on artificial general intelligence where she could do what she wanted, how she wanted, when she wanted.
I don't know how you get a boyfriend to sign off on anything when you have a metal hand, though.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe she likes gloves.
That's a really tough first date or second date.
Yeah, but no, I
Third
I like this movie. It did bring up a lot of thoughts about, again, artificial general intelligence and AI and integrating it into things like this. I was very amused by the nickname he had for her.
Bebop.
Beep boop.
Yeah.
Beep boop.
I don't think we're that far away.
No, I don't think we are at all.
From where we are with this movie because honestly, not that the sex robot thing is going to be the first priority for society.
It absolutely will.
But I think helpers will absolutely become mainstream, whether it's caregivers or helping. I mean, I think about if you could have lifelike robots who served as caregivers for people to give a child a rest from taking care of an aging parent, or if you looked at elderly people who live alone and are just desperately lonely and need companionship, I think there can be a wonderful positive use for robots in those capacities.
Oh, I don't even remotely disagree. And I find it interesting. Again, you tell me not to date episodes, and you'll have to be kind of a nerd to figure out it on this one. But Amazon just announced today that they're unveiling actual artificial intelligence on the Alexa, which I forgot to disable before the episode, so I didn't say her name. But so you can truly converse with it. Like, I know people have tried to in the past, but it was pretty clunky. But now you legitimately could.
Well, you think about movies like Her with Joaquin Phoenix and the fact that she wasn't a robot, she was a voice but a voice in a system that he talked to and that he fell in love with and was this amazing companion to him. And ultimately, she kind of went off on her own with a bunch of other robots. But yeah, I mean, you can absolutely form connections, real, meaningful connections with entities that aren't real. And I think about the loneliness epidemic in society, and just think about in the pandemic how bad it got for so many people who just were disconnected. And I would love to see it used that way for sure.
Yeah, you have any final thoughts?
If you ever say, Amber, go to sleep, I don't know, a little slap on the back of the head.
Amber? No! Go to sleep.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.